We're delighted to have two student speakers from the class of 2024. Our first speaker is Katarina Botski, who is from Kyiv, Ukraine. She learned Portuguese, Ukrainian, and French, studied abroad in Paris, and minored in military history. She was a co-founder of the Stanford Ukrainian Support Alliance, a research assistant at the Hoover Institution, an intern at the International Center for Defense and Security in Estonia. Katarina plans to return to Kyiv and pursue a career in defense technology and intelligence. Katarina.
My name is Katarina Botski, and it is my honor and privilege to be speaking before you today at Stanford's Class of 2024 International Relations Commencement Ceremony, a department I hold dear to my heart and one which has profoundly shaped the person I am today. Last summer, I was home in Kyiv doing a military training alongside some Ukrainian soldiers when one morning, one of them walked in wearing a Stanford t-shirt. I told him I went to school there, and he asked, "Didn't they teach you to do anything better at university than to go to war?" When the full-scale invasion of Ukraine started over 2 years ago, I took a leave of absence from Stanford to help volunteer with the war effort. I didn't know when I would come back from school, and to be honest, I didn't know if I wanted to. On February 24th, in an instant, the theories of international relations that I had spent years meticulously studying felt painfully obsolete in the face of the tragedy that had hit my home country. Realpolitik or neoliberalism or the other number of intricate explanations of why the world worked this way were not good enough answers for me as to why war had come to us, and these theories felt like even more painfully inadequate tools in fixing it. Over the last few years of our studies here at Stanford, I'm sure many of you have grappled with what it means to be a student of IR in an environment in which our global institutions and delicately balanced international systems are failing us. Often, when I go home to Ukraine and tell people what I'm studying, they ask me, "Why did you fail?" As a student of international relations and a deeply optimistic person, I came into this field because of my unwavering conviction in the indomitable human spirit and the power that we, as individuals, hold over the seemingly dauntless and unforgiving course of history. And despite it all, I do remain a deeply optimistic person, as I think deep down all of us are. Optimism is our only choice, because a shrug of resignation means acceptance of the status quo, and the status quo is simply unacceptable. A shrug of resignation means relinquishing our agency, conceding defeat in the face of adversity, and abandoning the belief that positive change is not only possible, but imperative. I am not ready to concede this defeat quite yet. When the full-scale invasion began, I was completely paralyzed. I couldn't get up, I couldn't eat, I couldn't tear myself away from the endless minute-by-minute updates of what I thought were going to be my country's final days. My best friend Davina, who's graduating with me here today, stood outside of the door one afternoon while I showered, holding my phone and reading the updates out loud to me so that I could pull myself together for even just a minute. My advisor, Dr. Amy Ziegert, showed up at the doorstep of my dorm with a backpack full of supplies, such as a first aid kit and solar-powered phone chargers to help me prepare for my trip back to Ukraine, and helped me raise money to protect protective equipment to evacuate our artworks from museums in the line of fire. Professor McFall told me one evening that before he goes to bed every night, he wonders if he's done enough to help Ukraine. When these systems have failed us, individuals have stood up every step of the way. These moments with these people are just some of the reasons why I'm not ready to lose faith just yet, and some of the reasons that I came back to Stanford, and the fact that I promised my parents I would. Happy Father's Day, Dad. These last 2 years have been the most difficult of my life, and I've been given every reason to believe that the forces of evil are mightier than those of good. But I don't. But I do want to make one thing abundantly clear. If I've learned anything about international relations, it's that optimism is absolutely imperative and that optimism isn't enough. There's no use in simply believing that someday some people are going to make it all better because the world is fundamentally good. No one is coming to save us but ourselves. If you believe in the inevitable victory of good, fight for it. And if you don't, fight for it anyway, because it is a very sad thing to believe we are destined to fail without at least putting up a fight. Professor McFall told me that when he thinks about whether he's done enough each night, almost always the answer is no. And often, too often, we will feel the same. And yet, even when the answer is no, or especially when the answer is no, we have to get up the next morning and do it all over again. Not to chase the day when we can go to bed at night with our consciences clear, but because the price we pay if we stop is higher than we can ever imagine. I don't know where that soldier is that I met at training, but there are so many things I wish I could tell him. Perhaps one thing would be that they did teach me better than to go to war, but war came to me, and when that happens, I was taught better than to bow down and abandon the fight. Can we live in a conflict-free world? I don't know. But to the graduating class of 2024, I ask that you not only remain unwavering in your conviction that light will shine over darkness, but that you will do everything in your power to ensure it. Let us move forward with patience, perseverance, and a determination that peace, a true peace, a peace in which good wins, is worth continuing to fight for, even if we failed before. Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katarina. Our second speaker is Ava Grisk-Ford. Ava learned Spanish, Mandarin, and French, and studied abroad in Paris. She graduated with distinction in Phi Beta Kappa. She was a Stanford Women in Business Vice President, a Chief of Staff intern at Smarter DX and Unison, and a Mayfield Fellow. Ava plans to pursue a career in technology. Ava? Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, do.
Should I raise it? Okay. It's okay also if not. I can just, okay.
We have
Sorry about that, thank you. Quite tall. Thank you so much. When I was a child, I would wake with the sun and write. I filled dozens of composition notebooks with stories about the wonder of small moments, scraps of cardboard and discarded fruit peels, mists crawling belly down across green fields, couples choosing lemons at a grocery store. I wrote story after story about ordinary people doing ordinary things. Even then, I believed somewhere in these modest moments lay the mysteries of being, that this smallness too could be aliveness. I watched the world, however ordinary, with a sense of wonder. As a child, this curiosity was part of my blood and bones. Questions slipped in and out of me messily with ease. Children have not yet learned the heavy pact of precedent. They are not afraid to ask uncomfortable questions, to champion their confusion. They are not afraid to ask the name of the person next to them on the bus or spend hours staring at the sunlight coming in through the slats of the window. Without the precedent of the past informing our moral epistemology of where to spend our time, all things small are made grand. And in the innocence of childhood, there are universes to be discovered in uncertainty. As we grow, however, we quickly uncover the importance of learned knowledge. Somewhere along the way, we begin to spend less time asking questions and more time answering them. For many of us here today, the objects of our attention got bigger: global warming, famine, world peace, and our specializations got smaller: security, economic development, law. The capacity to learn and subsequently leverage that knowledge brought us far. It brought us here to Stanford, where we continue to push the boundaries of our own understanding And while this certain, provable knowledge is indispensable, I still believe that our world owes its wisdom to wonder, to this uncertain, never promised, pulsating space of potential. If our institutional knowledge is sturdy and solid, wonder is the shaky ladder leading to the heavens, the bravery in the blur. It allows us to remain oriented toward understanding because it reminds us that the process is never finished. As scholars of international relations, this orientation is critical. Curiosity is the commencement of compassion, enabling us to connect with people and places we might not fully understand. It empowers us to move beyond the confines of our accredited institutions and specializations, urging us to follow instead our wonder about humanity. As students in this field, we have the unique privilege of being at the heart of a discipline whose core purpose is making the world a better place. But we must never forget to remember who we are making the world a better place for. This is the power of marvel. It keeps us suspended in delicious discovery, turning toward one another and asking each other stories, keeping us attentive and listening. But how can we justify this descent into the quiet? How do we defend taking time to contemplate and revel in the sacredness of the small and unknown when the world is aflame around us? This commitment to childlike curiosity might seem frivolous or irresponsible, and I admit I understand the objection. We are living in dangerous and divided times, the personal pain and persistence of which I have learned not from textbooks, but through the voices, stories, and actions of the class of 2024. I cannot claim to understand the battles this esteemed group before you has faced. However, this is precisely when the power of not knowing serves its purpose. We might never fully comprehend one another's experiences or the lives of communities across the globe, and that is okay. Not knowing allows us to show up with solidarity, to engage in discussions with open minds and without answers. It lets curiosity guide us, so that what I can offer you today is not a structured solution to the challenges my peers are working to eradicate, but a personal testament to the profound influence of their stories, the motivation they instill, and the optimism they embody if you are willing to wonder about them and begin the conversation. It can be easy for us, as canonical scholars, to forget that great progress has always been born from curiosity in uncertainty. Our world's most significant advancements have stemmed from leaders in their own dangerous and divided times who, like you all, chose to question rather than accept. As Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in his book, The American Scholar, meek young men grow up in libraries, believing it their duty to accept the views which Cicero, Locke, and Bacon have given, forgetful that Cicero, Locke, and Bacon were only young men in libraries when they wrote those books. At Stanford, we have cultivated this curiosity and courage to question. By never taking the status quo for granted, we will pave the way for improvements that once seemed impossible. In a time of devastating certainty, we as scholars can choose uncertainty as a path forward. We can choose wonder. So pay attention. Allow yourself to be thrown by the night sky or cracked open by the face of a stranger on the subway. Reconnect with the magic of ordinary humanity, which is at the heart of the world we are all aiming to improve. And in this orientation toward uncertainty, may we be oblivious to the false comforts of absolutes. May we walk with wonder and keep company with confusion, and may we be forever unyielding in the pursuit of clarity that is never singular, never promised, but despite the perils of the journey, always worth the marvels along the way. For those of you who have always been wide-eyed with wonder, I leave you with the words of Henry David Thoreau. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put foundations under them. But if you are unsure how to reawaken that childlike innocence that allows us to see the world with an open heart and mind, I leave you instead with this. Imagine your 5 or 6-year-old self looking up at you in awe of the regalia you wear today. Ask them to join you in a quiet walk and to read from the pages of the notebook they have clutched in their arms. Let them take your hand and lead the way. They will know what to do. Thank you.